Has a grass to cut.
I was Okay, we can do this. Thank you very much. Thank you. Over to you, Gopi.
Thank you, Pankaj. Good morning, everyone. What a beautiful place. Sitting here, we're looking at the spectacular view of Silicon Valley, literally. Pankaj did not mention one thing in his introduction, and that's I can't show up for time for my speaking engagement. I was supposed to be at 11 o'clock, and I arrived at 11:45. So I have to tell you the truth of what happened, because this is a perfect example of when you don't take care of your body and mind, things can go horribly wrong in your life. Because our brain has a natural intelligence, it'll kick in, it'll take over, it'll course correct. So I'll tell you what happened. I hope Som and Pankaj will find in the goodness of the heart to forgive me for what happened this morning. So as Pankaj mentioned, I've been traveling for 2 weeks. I was at the TED conference a week ago, which is intensely stimulating. It's fabulous. 78 TED Talks in 1 week, but it's 18-hour day. Starts at 8:45, goes till past midnight with networking events and after parties, etc. I finished TED. So during TED, I compromised on my sleep. I compromised on my exercise. I didn't meditate. I ignored all of the markers of life. This is how we think we can get away with a modern life, not taking care of the basics, but we think we are superhuman. So I'm exhausted by the time I finish TED, and I go straight to Peru from there for Google work, taking an overnight flight, and we delude ourselves saying if we pay the expensive business class reclining seat, that we will get good quality of sleep. Not true at all, particularly because I have sleep apnea, so I need a sleep app machine. So all of that gets even more compromised trying to get to Peru on a long overnight, 16 hours of travel. And once you get there on the ground, you know how business schedules are. It gets back to back, and I finish Peru, go to bed at 12, wake up at 4 a.m., 4 hours sleep, because they've scheduled the taxi pickup. This is how schedules are packed, and arrive at Chile, and again, I go through a similar kind of cycle. And by the time I come back, I was so exhausted. And last night, I thought I was taking a break. I went to San Rafael to listen to Krishna Das, the best known name in Western kirtan singers in the Bhakti Yoga tradition, and think that it's relaxation. But by the time we come back from San Rafael, it's like 1 o'clock. And during the concert, I turned the phone volume down because I didn't want to disturb in case the phone rang. And this morning, my body said, you're so tired, you need sleep more than anything else. It slept through the alarm. Okay, the body had taken over. My brain was...
No problem. We were late anyway.
So I feel refreshed. But this is deeply embarrassing where with 10 minutes ago for my talk, I wake up saying, I slept through the alarm because my brain said, this is enough. You put enough abuse on the body over 2 weeks, you need to rest.
Believe it or not, you are on time.
What is that?
Believe it or not, you are on time.
Okay.
You can tell.
That's even more interesting.
So, thank you. So that brings me to an important insight that I arrived at. 2 years ago, again, pushing this hard, I went into a mental health problem. It is a very commonly known thing. I was a high-functioning individual working on this job at Google, tearing myself and tearing through life at this incredible pace. And suddenly, I developed mental health issues. The brain is an organ like any other organ. And if you put enough circumstances kick in, things can go wrong. And I developed an anxiety issue. I was severely anxious and mildly depressed, according to the diagnosis. And I was shocked. Now, I'm a person who wrote The Happy Human. I'm supposed to be happy all the time, not anxious and depressed. So I had a hard time accepting that identity, that I am going through mental health issues, I'm anxious, depressed. But I had to lean in and accept it and embrace it. And here's what happened. It's interesting when the brain function goes, I don't want to call it wrong, but functions in a different way from a peak functioning state, how much things can swing. So from a public speaking perspective, this is my profession, this is my jam. I'm actually one of the top 15 in the world, and I'm not saying this to show off, but just to give you a data point, I competed in the World Championship and finished top 15 in the world last year for public speaking. And yet, during that anxiety phase, my brain gave me so much anxiety, I could not bear the thought of getting in front of an audience and speak like that. for the same person who was high-performing public speaker, things had shifted so much that this would make me anxious. I thought I would get up, say something stupid, I would fail, I would lose my job. And my brain was catastrophizing, and I couldn't function. So I took time off from Google to deal with it. Luckily, Google has a very good mental health program. There's a lot of self-awareness. It taught me to recognize it and ask for help. And one of the things I did was I was very public about it. I remember talking to Ajmal and calling him and saying, I'm having this problem. And all my friends, I was very open about it. There's nothing to feel embarrassed about. I wanted to be a role model for owning up to a problem like this. And I also hired a team of specialists, from psychiatrists, therapists, to traditional Eastern methods around meditation, Ayurveda, yoga, spending time in nature, and community, leaning into friends to help the support. And during that process, I learned a couple of simple truths about mind, body, brain, how to take care of it, and how to restore yourself back to health. And I want to share this with you, and I told Somnath that I will lead with this. So I arrived at two simple conclusions, which to this audience will be very obvious because you chose to be here and you spent 2 days in the retreat discussing this very topic. And which is why I admire the work that CWC is doing and what Bakshi and Pankaj and Som have gone on to build here to educate people about these two truths. And the two truths are, this is the most important resource we all get to use as individuals. When I say this, our body, our physical container, our brain, which directs our cognitive functions, and something we call our mind and our heart, not the cardiac sense, but in the more emotional sense that regulates our emotions, allows us to respond to circumstances as they develop. This